Ladies and gentlemen, just before we start another episode of the Fitzness Academy podcast, just a reminder for those who are listening on YouTube that we are now on Spotify. So please head down into the link in the description and check us out there. On with the episode.
I've been a second and third choice keeper for a lot of my career, and that didn't stop me from training hard on and off the pitch and just waiting for the opportunity. So working hard and patience. Patience is a big one, I would say.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Fitzness Academy podcast. I have the honour of having Dayle Coleing on the podcast, for fellow Gibraltarian as well. Gibraltar international and Lincoln Redim's goalkeeper, formerly of Glentoran in Northern Ireland, of course. Dayle, welcome, brother.
Thank you for having me.
No worries, mate. Before we get into the serious, semi-serious stuff, I'm an absolute child and I ask an icebreaker question. With all the athletes that I have on, I tend to ask the same question because I'm intrigued. I had your sponsor, or your sort of the owner of your sponsor, Asmir Begovic, on before, and I asked him the same question because it's fair to say the goalkeepers are a different breed entirely, right? Yeah, have you got any superstitions, or ever have you had any superstitions in the past, like wrapping one finger with tape and the other opposite one with the same amount and halfway in between? Do you kick one way? Do you tap the post one way? I'm intrigued.
I wouldn't say it's any crazy superstitions, but I always kind of put my left boot on first before the right one. I always step on a pitch with my left foot first before the right one, and I always leave the pitch with my left foot before the right one. Okay. Other than that, nothing too crazy, to be honest. Just
nice and simple.
Yeah.
Fair. Is it something that you've always done? I'm always intrigued as well, because I've heard of that one before, but is it always something you've always done?
Yeah, as far back as I can remember, yeah. I've actually got another one as well. When it comes to the GFA games, home or away games, I'm always the last one off the bus every single time for training or for match day. Always the last one off the bus, and people find it quite annoying. They will try and catch me out and stay on the bus longer for me, after me, but I always kind of hold my ground.
I can just imagine, all right, lads, I'll figure it out, okay,
I know. He has to kind of jump over me and get off the bus every time.
Perfect, bro. Great start. What a great start. I was a bit disappointed when Asmir had no superstitions, because I would have thought the amount of games that he's played, he would have had a couple at least, no? But it's all right. But like I mentioned, guys, with most of the guests I try and have a very, very brief introduction, so then we can get onto your story and your journey, and that's exactly what we're going to do today. So, Dayle, if you don't mind, take the floor. It's all yours.
Well, I don't know. Where do I begin?
From what? Obviously not the very beginning, because that would take a fair bit. But like, obviously your footballing journey. Obviously, I understand you started your youth football in the UK, and then obviously progressing to where we are today. I think that's a good point.
Well, I'll give you a little story on how I became a keeper. I think it's always a standard story for keepers where they're either not very good outfield, or they're always the fat one outfield and they go and goal. But for me, it was a bit different. For me, it was quite natural, where I would play in the pitch downstairs with my dad and my brother, and I kind of naturally said, "Oh no, shoot at me, or else I don't go." And it kind of kicked off from there, to be honest. And then I joined the team. I think it was Combined Services, my first team. It's a MOD team, so it was like an army team.
Yeah. And
then we moved to the UK when I was 8 years old, and that was my youth football, playing for a team called Highbury in Warminster, Wiltshire. And did really well there. Got recognised by Bristol Rovers. Got invited to training camps and matches and all this. But my dad did his 2-year course in the UK, and we had to move back to Gibraltar. So that's when I joined Gib United, and then into Lincoln, and then obviously carried on with my the football carries on from there.
And you went back to the UK to study for 3 years to your undergraduate, and then you did play a bit of football there as well, no?
Yeah, so I was with with the Saturday team there, Saturday League team called Thackley. And I was also playing with the uni team, which was in a good league, 2B, which for our size, our uni size, we were punching all above our weight. And I was captain for that uni team, Leeds Trinity University. And, I was kind of exposed to two different types of football, where in the Saturday League team it was all physical, crazy physical. And then it was a bit more technical on the uni football. I think a lot of people kind of underestimate the standard of uni football. At that time I was not in the picture, the GFA kind of picture, so it's more like when I came back. But yeah, I was also exposed to like the English type football, and then back home we have the more Spanish type football, if you like. So yeah. It was good. It was good to have both under my belt.
I love and we'll get onto it in a second. Obviously, when you're playing abroad, like obviously we have a lot of lads who are doing that now. Maybe not abroad, but obviously in the UK and things like that. Even going to Spain to play. I think it brings a bit more of excitement when we watch national team games, and you actually find that like we're starting to compete now with teams in our realm. It's not just like the right cool how, and it's fair to say like how little can we lose by. I think has been something which I've not liked in the past, which I've heard from like all these media sources, and then you're like, well, like look how far we've come from here to back there, to where we are now. Sorry to go on a tangent, but
No, it's true. And I think we're punching well above our weight for our size, for Gibraltar size, the amount of people we have, and that we're still relatively new. We're baby, like in this these UEFA competitions still. I think we were only accepted in 2013. These nations have been, I don't know how long in the UEFA competition, so. And we're doing well, we're progressing a lot since the beginning, and we keep on progressing, and we're getting really good results. It's a massive accomplishment what we did, winning Group D for the Nations League. So we're coming on leaps and bounds with the national team.
All I'm going to say is that Erling Haaland can do it on the Etihad on a Tuesday night, but he can't do it in Gibraltar on the AstroTurf, mate. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah. Just leave it there.
That's true.
No, but obviously, no disrespect. He's watching. He's going to be watching. But no, obviously, moving on. Obviously, from university, you came back and joined Europa, and then obviously that was a big turning point, because that's when obviously you were given that, or potentially were you given that opportunity, and you start to get recognised, with the national team. And obviously there was a stage which I read where, you were in the national team for a little bit, and it took you obviously a while to break in with the likes of like Kyle Goldwyn and things like that. But what was that sort of transition back to Gibraltar like after having all that experience in the UK?
Well, yeah, I was kind of just enjoying my football when I was in the UK, playing with friends in the uni team. And I knew when I would come back to Gib, it would be a bit more serious and the commitment would be a lot more demanding. But I didn't expect being contacted by Europa just at the end of the third year of uni. And when the opportunity came, I thought it was Europa are a massive team in Gibraltar, so I thought I can't really turn this down. Obviously, I'm being recognised for what I'm doing here. They know who I am. So for me, it was a big deal, and it was a really good decision for me to go and join them, because we had really good coaching and facilities, and I had proper one-to-one keeper coaching as well. So, and I think that helped me develop and improve loads as a keeper. And thanks to that, I kind of made my way into the first team. The season after, I kind of made the number one spot my own, and shortly after it was being called up to the national team. So, really thankful for Europa giving me the opportunity back then.
Do you reckon that helped you then into, obviously, what we've talked about now, that Glentoran move to Northern Ireland?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a domino effect. One thing kind of, led to another, being in the Europa, then being first keeper, then national team, patiently waiting, getting my chance to the national team, and then the displays of the national team, they're playing Glentoran. So it's definitely one thing after the other.
I think TJ spoke about it a little bit from where those performances at the international level. Yes, it's against an incredibly tough opposition, but you shine, and you're not too far away from the right people's eyes in a certain way,
No, definitely. Thousands of people are watching the national team games. You never know who could be watching at the end of the day. Massive teams, and you can be very easily recognised. I think, especially, I'm lucky that in my position, the The honest truth is, being the goalkeeper for Gibraltar, you're going to get a lot of shots faced at you. And that's basically what happens at the end of the day. And I got recognised by a team.
That's brilliant, mate. And was it difficult to sort of leave Europa then after sort of that brilliant opportunity, like you said? Or was it a bit of a no-brainer in a certain way?
It was a no-brainer in my eyes, because I kind of wanted to go to the highest level of football as possible, and I used things as stepping stones, and Europa were good to me, and I used them as a stepping stone to bigger and better things. So when the opportunity came, I knew I wanted to take it with both hands, and it was a bit more complicated. It wasn't as straightforward as I thought, but we got there in the end, and I got the move to Glentoran.
Yeah, I read something which made my jaw drop a bit, where I don't know if it was Europa or a media outlet said that it would have been a sideways step for you in a certain way, which I honestly cannot put two and two together, because especially in the national team, regardless of that, I think you can imagine how you probably came back as a better goalkeeper, having that additional support in such a higher league, no?
No, definitely. I mean, loads of people are going to have different opinions. You know what I mean? Some people thought it was a sideways step just because the UEFA coefficient points was similar to Northern Ireland's. But the reality is that the exposure and the competitiveness of football in Northern Ireland is much higher than here in Gibraltar. And it just goes to show that when I came back, whilst I was in Glentoran and I came back for the national team games, you could see in my game I had improved loads. So
100%.
It was massive. And again, it helped massive in my development being a keeper.
What was the decision then to sort of to stay there long term and leaving everything back in Gibraltar? Because a lot of people don't see that kind of side where they say, "Oh, he's got this move, to Northern Ireland or to the UK, wherever it may be, for whatever player," and they see the upside into playing in a different league. But it's difficult living abroad. Obviously you've done it with uni, and I'm doing it at the moment with university as well. It's difficult leaving home, even though you've got this thing to work with. It is difficult, isn't it?
No, it's very difficult, extremely difficult leaving your family behind. But I think being in uni, like you said, 3 years in uni definitely helped, having that independence and living on your own and kind of fending for yourself. But it's never easy leaving family behind, and it was especially more difficult as it was during the pandemic. So there was restrictions and everything was kind of closed down over there. I was living by myself for a long period of time. There were no shops nearby. Everything was a walk away, half an hour walk away. It wasn't straightforward, but I was determined to make it happen. So there was nothing that was standing in my way for that.
Did that overall goal then help you when the difficult times came? Because it's inevitable that whatever you do, regardless how much you enjoy it, you're going to have difficult times eventually. But was it always like there's going to be sacrifice, there's going to be sacrifice? Yeah,
I knew there was going to be a lot of ups and downs, especially the downs, But that's how it comes when you go by yourself to another country. But having said that, I knew there was going to be a lot of ups. I think my first game was my first or second game where we qualified the first round of the Europa League against a team from Faroe Islands. So that was a massive up, and we did well that year. We came third as well, my first season, so with a lot of clean sheets. But again, the behind the scenes, the living situation, they were really good to me. They gave me a really good house in the country, away from the city, and it was everything paid for. So they did treat me well in that respect. But it was definitely very lonely as well.
Yeah. What on the other side of that, then on the flip side, do you reckon that was obviously you don't have to mention, but was that a key factor in your move back to Gibraltar on loan, and then obviously on a permanent deal now with Lincoln Red Imps? Because obviously, and we'll get on to obviously the quality that Lincoln have now, because I think it's absolutely ridiculous how much you guys have come on leaps and bounds. But was that sort of a contributor into the loan move first?
I think there were loads of reasons why I came back. I wouldn't say that played a factor, because the year after we knew the pandemic would ease off and my family would come to see me a lot more. Okay. So I would have more frequent visits. So that was never an issue. And plus with the GFA, I was always coming back as well. Yeah. So that was never an issue. The reasoning, I mean, there was loads. I have personal reasons, family reasons, you know.
Yeah, of course.
And they also got another keeper, and they said, look, we're not forcing you to go anywhere. If you want, you can stay and fight for your place. But I couldn't risk that with the national team position being in jeopardy. So, and I knew I had Lincoln and other offers on the table. So I thought it'd just be best to come home. It was definitely the the right option considering the circumstances I was under.
That's an incredibly important thing, because I think far too often, and in a good and a bad way, whichever one you think about it, people say, yeah, you want to stay and fight for your place and things like that. Yes, it's important, but in a space like football, where I think it's fair to agree that there are going to be loads of people ready to step in behind you, you need to get game time. And like you said, with the national team, I think it's a pretty unique position that you're in, where you've got this unbelievable opportunity to perform, and like you have done. You know, I think it's far, like, I think it's, he should have stayed and fight for his spot. I think it's absolute nonsense to a certain extent, no?
No, yeah, I'm the first one to say that you should stay and fight for your spot, but with the position I'm in, I couldn't risk that as well. I wasn't willing to be the second keeper in another country when I knew that a massive team like Lincoln were offering me, being their first keeper as well. I mean, they didn't offer that, but I had to fight for that as well. You know what I mean? So it was the right decision, the right option for me, and it was the right time as well.
Especially when Lincoln, now at a level where contesting for UEFA Conference League, points, in within the league itself, not just qualifiers. That was an unbelievable achievement for the club. Did that motivate you as well? Because then you start to look at the flip side. Well, yes, the league potentially, no disrespect to any other teams or any other players in the league, but there's a fair difference there. But then you're going to these European competitions and you're like, well, this is where we shine, or this is where we, want to be.
100%. I was following the football back home whilst I was in Belfast, and I could see that Lincoln were doing really, really well in the European competitions. I saw that they were on the verge of qualifying into the group stages. I saw the game that got them into the group stages, so it was a massive achievement, and obviously it wasn't a step down by any means. So that being in the Europa Conference League group stages is a massive deal, and it's a massive thing in my career. And I'm really glad I played a part of it, and I thank Lincoln for that, Yeah. So the standard of football is really, really good, really high in Lincoln, and I'm enjoying my football as well at the moment.
Yeah. That's another thing which you mentioned before, and I wanted to touch upon a little bit, because I think it's so underestimated as well, where you just have to sometimes enjoy what you do. Yes, there's obviously, like you said, going to be times where it's tough and, you're going to struggle, form dips, things happen. But, the reality is that, the more you enjoy it, the easier it becomes, and the more easy it comes to train to get better.
No, definitely. I think the main thing is enjoying your football. You can't let it feel as if it's a job or something you have to do. And no matter where I go, I have to make sure I'm enjoying my football, having the right environment, the right people around me, and everything, comes part and parcel with it. So, and like I said, at the moment, I'm really enjoying my football. I'm enjoying being back home as well. My teammates, most of them are on the national team, so the setup is really perfect. Not to say that I wasn't enjoying myself in Belfast. I had great teammates there as well, and I was enjoying my football there. So.
Now that you've obviously come back to Gibraltar sort of on a permanent basis, did that also give you a bit more of level ground where you could actually start to again sort of refocus and not have anything in the background, so to speak? Obviously within football, aside from maybe politics, which sometimes gets into football.
It's not as straightforward as that. It's not as you come back and everything's forgotten. No, in the back of my mind, I still have the mentor in the back of my mind, hoping that kind of wishing that I did better. Even though I did have a good season with them, we did have a good season as a team. It's something I think it's down to a personal thing where you either have to kind of let go or kind of just brush to the side. But it does play in the back of my mind still. yeah, like you said, it's an opportunity to have a fresh start as well and kind of rebuild, because the dream, it never goes away. I still wanna play at the highest level possible. So, but for now, I have to keep my feet on the ground, and at the moment, I'm with Lincoln.
Well, definitely the right place to be in that respect then. And moving on to national team stuff, because like I mentioned, there's amazing opportunities for that, and I did allude to it a little bit. You were with them, started sort of training and being selected in squads in, 2014, and but you didn't make your debut until 2019. Aside from obviously pandemics and things like that, what drove you to get the number one spot? Because similar to, like you've mentioned, battles for that number one spot, does, other factors come into the equation where, did you start to think about potentially maybe the national team wasn't going to happen?
I wouldn't say I didn't think it was going to happen. I knew it would happen. I can't. There was a point when I was in uni where I knew my worth. I knew how good I was and my potential, especially my potential. But no one really knew of me, and no one kind of thought I would reach where I did reach, where I am. It was a matter of time, but I didn't know when, and I didn't expect it to happen as soon as it did, to be honest. When I was in uni, it was kind of just focusing where I was, and I'll be honoured the day that they call me. And my goal, my dream was to kind of consistently get picked for the squad, not even thinking about first keeper. And I was picked for the squad as soon as I got back from uni, and I was in the squad for a while, for a few years, until I was given my opportunity to make my debut. And it came at the age of 23, which was a lot sooner than I thought it would come.
I bet you never ever forget that first phone call, where you're like, right, cool, this hard work is paid off, no?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it goes back to when I was 17, when I was first called up to go travel with the squad to Ireland. That was a good moment where I kind of didn't expect that, but I was given the chance to, and traveling with the national team, traveling with your idols, your heroes growing up, because everyone has an idol, like I don't know,
of course,
David Beckham or whatever. I think for me, my idols were the local players. Growing up, the players that you can relate to most, and you're watching every day. So I was happy to be with them, training on a daily basis.
Yeah. What strove you? What gave you the? I want to say strived, then said strove. I came with a completely different word there for no reason. Once you got that chance, then what motivation do you have? And it's quite a bizarre question to ask. What motivation do you have to keep it? Because it's fair to say, on paper, you write it down and you've achieved, up to the highest level in international football, on paper. What strives you to keep pushing on and keep motivating yourself towards, like you said, playing at the highest level?
That's the hardest bit, the easy bit is winning that jersey. The hardest bit is kind of
keeping
keeping it. Complacency can take over. You can become really relaxed, and before you know it, someone else is grabbing that jersey off you. So it's just staying on top of your game and trying to motivate yourself on a daily basis, whether it's going to the gym and just striving for perfection every day. Don't you have a standard, and you can't really go under it. And I try and be as strict as possible with myself, with quality, with training every day, and make sure I don't fall below that standard.
I've seen that in person, by the way, ladies and gents. So I've seen Dayle doing it, and it's brilliant to see. So all that hard work has definitely paid off. So on to a bit more of a bizarre note, where I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about the future, about where you think Gibraltar football is heading, because it's a bit of an off topic where it's fair to say I can see, in my personal opinion, a clear difference between Lincoln and the rest of the field. In a non-disrespectful way, do you kind of have to look at yourselves as outside, so in European competitions where you sort of think that you belong, because I think you definitely belong at that high level, it's fair to say, but, do you have to almost, never forget about the Gibraltar Football League, because yes, the quality's there, but any team can beat any team on their day, in my opinion. What motivates you guys to keep sort of pushing and getting better?
Well, we always want to win the league for Lincoln. We always want to win the league and keep that perfect record without losing a game in the season. And it's very hard to kind of keep those standards when it's so easy to relax and just drop off the intensity. I think the manager does a good job, and the captains, Roy Cipollina and Liam Walker, they do a good job of kind of making sure no one drops intensity during the game, during training sessions. But look, Lincoln have been doing it for years. I don't know how many consecutive leagues they've won, so they must be doing something right to keep that high standard and momentum going. So it's just being professional at the end of the day.
Awesome, mate. So we're going to move on to the Q&A quickly, mate, because I said I put a lovely little infographic on earlier today, and we got a couple of really, really good ones. And the first one is, I'm not going to say anyone's names just for anonymity. I don't know if they wanted to be mentioned. What do you love about being a goalkeeper? Because it's fair to say to a lot of people, they might find it a bit boring that you don't do anything for a certain amount of time. But what do you love about being a goalkeeper?
That's a good question, I think, I don't know. I like being a keeper. I think it's very different. I consider it a different sport as the rest of the players on the field. It's a different sport in its own. I like the loneliness of it. It's a bit weird, but you're kind of by yourself. I think you have to have a certain type of character and mentality. I like the uniqueness of being a keeper. I like that you can be the hero, but you can also be the villain at any given moment. So you're always on your toes in that respect. But yeah, I like that the respect that you're given by saving, when you save your team from losing a game, you're kind of seen as the hero. But having said that, it's the most scrutinized position in football. You're barely the winner. Yeah. But that's what I signed up for. I
suppose it's difficult because with an outfield, you don't give the ball away. You can always get a chance to get the ball back. If you let in a sort of cheap goal, everyone looks at you as a villain.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
But yeah.
Yeah. Good answer. I wasn't expecting such a detailed answer. I absolutely love it, Dayle.
No, I caught me off guard, but that's what I thought in my
head. This one's a little bit more which one I can relate to. What would you? I suppose this person is a goalkeeper because it's quite specific. Says, what would be one physical quality I should work on as a goalkeeper to make it? By make it, I suppose just be sort of the highest level possible, like you mentioned.
I would say explosive work. And work on the explosiveness in the gym. I think a lot of people think my height plays a factor in my keeping, which it does to be honest, but I rely heavily on my explosiveness because for a big guy and for the size of me, I do move around quite quick. I think a lot of people don't expect that from me, but explosiveness is definitely one of the biggest things that I rely on when being goal, whether it's coming out for a cross or coming out quick for a one-on-one, whether it's coming out for sweeper keeper. It's definitely needed in being a goalkeeper.
Does it help when you have prepared well? This is another question, and I'm answering it because I can. Does sort of being brave and like sort of maybe other like psychological things like that help you when you come up against big teams and big players and like sort of teams of really good quality?
Definitely, it's what I mentioned before. It's you need that certain type of. Excuse me.
Oh, we've taken his breath away.
Give me a second.
No worries. It's taken half time, ladies and gents. He's taken half time.
So it's what I was saying before. You need a certain type of mentality to be a keeper. You have to be brave, fearless, and like I said, it's a very lonely position. So you have to kind of prepare yourself, knowing what you're coming up against.
Is almost the physical preparation harder than the mental preparation, or the other way around?
easier.
Easy.
I would say it's a lot more mental than physical being a keeper, definitely, for sure.
In what is it in respect to sort of maybe like results or like mistakes that have happened? Because obviously, like if you make a mistake in the 10th minute, you still got 80 minutes to be a goalkeeper against. No.
I mean, before the game, it's the mental preparation, knowing what you're coming up against, knowing the risks if you were to make a mistake, and then that's the preparation for the game. And during the game, if that mistake does arise, it's overcoming it and kind of forgetting it. It's happened. You have to put it behind you. So it's a non-stop mental battle throughout the game, before the game as well, and after the game. Once you finish the game, if you don't feel you've had a great game, or if you feel that you are the reason for the loss, it's having to deal with the backlash, whether it's from fans, whether it's from parents, or your own mind. You know, I'm my own worst enemy. I'm my biggest critic. So you can't be too harsh on yourself. You have to, like I said before, you have to set standards for yourself, but you can't beat yourself up too much. So I would definitely say it's a mental thing more than a physical, although being the physical work is definitely needed as well.
Do you think you're a victim of overanalyzing sometimes when it comes to a game?
Definitely, yeah. I've been telling myself I have to kind of ease off a bit more. But I think it's something I've always done, and I think it sets my standards, my high standards. There's nothing wrong in being overcritical, but you just have to know when to stop from going past that line.
Yeah, perfect. So on to a couple of the closing notes. Has there been one or a number of individuals that have contributed to where you are today? The water.
Yeah, the water. Yeah, for sure. I would say the one that stands out most is my dad. He was there from the very beginning, taking me to training sessions, pouring rain. You know, he was the one there. I remember when we lived in the UK, and I would play on Saturday mornings, and it would be freezing cold. He would be behind my goal, passing me a thermos with coffee in it. So it would warm me up. He would be in every single game, even up till now. So he definitely is my number one. Everything I do in football is dedicated to him, and I'm thankful to him for that. And I think I can never thank him enough, to be honest. Christian Wink as well has been a massive help. My keeper coach for the national team. He's been with me since I was 14, 15.
Wow.
He taught me, I was very late when knowing how to kick a ball. He taught me how to kick a ball. So he's helped me massively in my development being a goalkeeper. And also Elliot Morris, keeper coach in Glentoran, helped me loads whilst I was over there. Helped me kind of adapt to the kind of football over there, because it's very different as well. So those are the ones on the top of my head I can think of, yeah.
Big up Father Coleing with a thermos. I absolutely love that. Big up.
Good story.
Oh, mate, that's definitely one that I love that. What's the last point, which tends to almost not be the longest one, but the most sort of critical one in my opinion, and it's what would one piece of advice be to anyone who wants to be the next Dayle Coleing, the next goalkeeper for their national team or professional team, or anyone who just wants to become a better version of themselves?
Just don't give up, you know. Train every day, train hard, and I think the main thing is patience, because being a keeper is very different to being an outfielder. You know, you can be subbed on as an outfielder, but a keeper, there's only one playing, unless for whatever reason, you know, the manager decides to swap you half time. But more often than not, there's just the one keeper, and then you have the second choice keeper or the third choice keeper. I've been a second and third choice keeper for a lot of my career, and that didn't stop me from training hard on and off the pitch and just waiting for the opportunity. So working hard and patience is a big one, I would say.
Awesome. What a way to finish, ladies and gents. It's been unbelievable to speak to you today, Dayle, because obviously on knowing you on a personal basis, it's brilliant just to like sit down Obviously, over call is different. Don't have to be as careful with my words, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
But, it's brilliant to hear your story, mate, and that's why I wanted to get you on, and it's been an unbelievable episode. So thank you very much for coming on, mate.
Thank you for letting me share my story, man.
No worries at all, guys. Obviously, I'll leave all of Dayle's links in the description box below. Give him some support, or a hell of a lot of support for the upcoming internationals. I think, actually, this episode will actually go live the week beginning of the international friendly. So I'll leave the link in the description to tickets to go and watch it, and the link to the GFA's page as well. So thank you very much, guys, again for listening, and we'll catch you soon. Cheers.